Hey, everybody, welcome back to the Harmony Ball podcast. On today's episode, we have Jamie Bedford, who is a performance category judge. But before we get into what makes Jamie so cool, I've got news. And here's the news. I just spoke with Jamie on the phone, and Jamie's chorus, the Fog City Singers in San Francisco, California, are rehearsing like right now, this Sunday afternoon, and it's still spring here in North America. We are rehearsing. Barbershop choruses are getting back together. Even in California, the whole thing is coming back together, baby. Yeah. Okay, so this episode is brought to you by a cool thing that Jamie and his wife do called synopsis. If you're in front of your computer, just type in right now synapse, synopsis, synopsis.com into your browser. And you can check out all the cool talks that he and his wife host in this program. They're doing this really cool thing. You should really check it out. Also, let's say that this episode is sponsored by Fog City Singers. You guys are rehearsing right now, and I'm feeling the vibes up here in Sonoma County. All right. Yes, live music coming back, live performance coming back. Oh, so exciting. On today's episode, Mr. Jamie Bedford, who is a performance category judge. He's in his first year of a 3-year cycle, and we have a lot to talk about when it comes to barbershop and navigating the pandemic. And it turns out that a lot of the, I guess from Jamie's perspective, it was pretty good for Fog City Singers to take a break during the pandemic. So it was not really such a loss of energy for them because it was kind of built into the architecture and their founding. And I would like to wish them a 6-year anniversary, happy 6-year anniversary to the formation of that chorus. And I understand it correctly from their website, they are doing a summer concert series in which they do 3 rehearsals and then 3 concerts. So today is their first rehearsal, and then they'll do 2 more rehearsals and 3 concerts in the San Francisco Bay Area. So if you're in the San Francisco Bay Area, look around for that, or maybe join them on the Risers. And Jamie is such a great guest on this show because he's got a lot of energy, he's got a lot of input vis-a-vis the performance judge category, and answers all of my dorky questions. So without further ado, let's get started with the interview. Further ado, Mr. Jamie Bedford, welcome to the Harmony Ball podcast.
Well, thank you. Happy to be here.
Right on, man. How is Fog City gearing up for the 2021 year?
Well, to be completely frank with you, we haven't, up until like the last month or so, we really haven't done anything in any kind of organized fashion since March of 2020, since the pandemic was declared as being a thing in the United States. We did have plans through the rest of the year, including our 5-year anniversary that was this past fall that we sort of just blew past. But Fox City is kind of in a unique position in the barbershop world in that our seasonal schedule, which is kind of like we had basically 3 performance seasons or contest seasons or whatever you want to call it per year. Our seasonal schedule enabled us to basically go into complete hibernation mode, which actually for a lot of the folks in the leadership of the organization was a welcome break. Especially for our director, who Chris Lewis is our frontline director, and he's the main driving force behind everything that we do artistically, musically. He's and also to a high degree logistically as well. He really gets a lot of the stuff done. He's the heart of the chorus. So 5 years in, he was kind of starting to talk about looking for ways to take a break, and then the pandemic happened, and he sort of got a break, kind of, in as much as we, as a chorus, basically did nothing for almost a year now. But we're starting to talk about it. So for 2021, we have a physician in our chorus who is advising us and trying to translate, the health advisories and figure out, okay, what's going to be the safe way for us to get back together. So with all that stuff in mind, for 2021, we're considering doing some virtual activities. Probably won't end up being like a virtual concert, just because we're not sure that we have the I don't know if motivation is quite the right word. People are motivated to sing, but we're mostly motivated to sing together. That's really the thing that's been driving us in the past. Like it's having that goal of, whatever the concert series is that's coming up, the time together is really what drives us. So we're trying to figure out something that we can do that was just like, whet the appetite, as it were, virtually. And also we'll, probably have some, informal social gatherings probably over the summer, where we can be socially distant, until enough of us or all of us are vaccinated and we think that it's safe to get together to actually sing. But what we're probably going to aim for, assuming things continue on the path they seem to be on now, is some kind of a concert, either in the fall or winter of 2021. Our typical season requires like a 3-month run up to whatever the concert is that we have typically ended our season with. So three plus months. So we're kind of looking at like, okay, if things are safe, we'll start rehearsing maybe later in the summer or in the fall, early fall, and then have a concert sort of in the late fall, early winter kind of time frame. That's all obviously not set in stone because nothing is set in stone these days. But that's kind of what we're thinking. But we're exploring some ideas about ways we can do virtual tagging online. Maybe some small virtual recordings with songs that won't be like a total burden for our leadership team to edit together to produce anything, but mostly stuff that's, I think, informal. Or we've also considered inviting some local musical personalities to come and like talk with us about music or about performance. We've talked about maybe working with some other barbershop judges to bring them in to kind of talk through things, or maybe do some like playing back the tapes kind of thing, and like look at some of our past performances and do some critique on that. And we're also just trying to be open to rethinking the way that we do things as well. We don't want to be necessarily boxed in by what we've done previously. So one of the things that we have talked about actually is, if we were going to start a chorus today, knowing what we've learned over the last 5 years, what would we do? Would we do anything differently? Would we do it the same? Who knows? So that those conversations are really just starting. But we think that our members, our singers, are compelled by some really particular things. So we want to be true to that and remain true to that. The level of musical excellence and vocal excellence and the level of commitment to the quality of the product, and also the pace of rehearsal and the pace of learning, is all stuff that's like really critical for us, and that we think keeps our folks interested and compelled. So those are all going to be core to whatever it is that we end up doing, assuming it's not something that's just totally social, like getting together in a park and, having some drinks and some hot dogs or something.
What you made me think of when you were saying that was that you have a lot of experience with bringing community groups together for this sort of like, when you were saying look at the tape, sort of like watch previous performances, or bring in experts and sort of get like bring local performers in to just maybe give a salon or speak. I do know that you have a program in San Francisco that you've been hosting for the last couple of years called synopsis, and I did want to give you an opportunity to describe that experience as well, because I know it's been quite a well-run program. I'm looking at your videos online at synopsis.com, which has a cute name. How do you abbreviate it? Synson?
Synson, yeah, you got it.
So rad. I recommend the listeners check it out. There's a lot of very nice talks on cool subjects. There's some stuff on Mars. There's some stuff. I watched the one today on the gentleman that was speaking about tapping.
Oh yeah, that was
which
a pretty interesting one.
I
Yeah.
always love listening to that about that subject because it was introduced to me through Deanna Troy of Star Trek Next Generation.
Yeah, there you go. Uh-huh.
So yeah, that's cool, man. That's so cool that you're doing that. So I would love to know more about that through your own words. We spoke about that last time you and I chatted, but for our
Mhm.
listeners, would you give us a little rundown on Sin Sin?
For sure. Yeah, it is exactly like you said. So it's we kind of like to think of it as like a mini TED Talk series, but like hyper local, or at least that's what it started as. We just when I say we, my wife is the founder of Synapse Synopsis, and she was inspired to do something like this when she went to a conference and they were having people volunteer to give really short talks that are in the it's called the Ignite talk style. It's basically 5 minutes, very timed, 5 minutes with you can get up to 20 slides, like PowerPoint slides, and each one auto advances every 15 seconds. So it
But
works
they're
out to
not
be
your
five
slides,
minutes.
though, right? Somebody else's
Well,
slides.
these are, yeah.
Oh,
Well,
okay.
typically yes. In the Ignite style thing, there is a different um, a different organization that's called Speechless that does improv sort of style, very very similar kind of
Oh,
time
okay. I was
constraint, but
confused. I
improv.
thought I thought
Yeah.
Ignite was the one where you had to like it's kind of like karaoke where somebody else picks the
Yeah,
karaoke
yeah,
track for
yeah.
you, but instead it's a slide deck and you have to present somebody else's presentation. But this is not
Absolutely
that.
terrifying.
Okay.
Absolutely terrifying. That idea frightens the heck out of me. Yes.
But you'd do
No, this is not
karaoke
that.
though,
This is
wouldn't you?
well, I probably would. Yeah, I
Yeah,
probably would.
yeah.
Yeah, sure. I've been in front of people singing enough that I could probably get down for that. Yeah. But the synapse synopsis is whatever the presenter wants to talk about, whether it's something that they have always been passionate about and they're experts in the field, or it's something that they just wanted to learn more about it themselves and they wanted to, have an excuse to learn something and then talk about it for 5 minutes. Uh, yeah, so typically speaking, up until the pandemic, that was very local. So it started out with just kind of our social circle to talk to each other, to give talks to each other. Because typically in a conversation, you don't usually get a chance to talk at someone for 5 minutes uninterrupted. But also, you probably can't in a informal setting do like a lecture where it's like an hour or 2 hours kind of talking. Like that's just too much. The tagline, as you see on the website, is "Enlighten me, but make it quick." That's kind of synapse synopsis in a nutshell. So it was always like in people's living rooms, but for the last year or so, I guess we've been doing them almost every month online, and they're free to attend. And if anybody who's listening thinks like, "Oh man, this is an amazing idea," we would be happy to provide all of our templates, email templates, organization, logistical templates, things like that, so that you can start up this kind of thing, eventually in your living room, but online in your neighborhood if it's something that you're interested in doing, or sign up for to be a presenter for our Sin. That'd be awesome. Yeah, very community focused though, for sure.
Heck yes, man. So community focused, it's like there's so much cool opportunity for that, and it makes me really proud to know you that you're doing this type of thing because people that show up to change the world are the people that do it. I have to ask you now, how do you feel that community focus could be applied in the future to barbershop? Because we're all part of this organization, the Barbershop Harmony Society, and we would like to see it continue to grow and flourish as best we can. And I want to give you an opportunity now to sort of like borrow maybe from Sinson or from other aspects of your experience building community. I do know that you're a performance judge. We haven't spoken about that. How can we go forward in the Barbershop Harmony Society and keep making this thing flourish? How do we get over this big speed bump, this momentum hit?
Yeah, great question, and a really important thing to be thinking about, I think. So for me, I think that something that Fog City has really only just started to tap into is involvement in the community and like outreach into other arts organizations, partnerships with other arts organizations to share barbershop with people who are already musicians, who are already interested in singing, to reach other people in your community that you can have concerts with or do educational exchanges or something like that. I think that that's a really low hanging fruit. But barbershop has, of course, unfortunately, always had sort of a stigma to it in the musical world. But I do have to say, Westminster, your chorus has gone above and beyond in terms of destroying that stigma by showing just how artful and musical and thoughtful and transcendent that barbershop can be. You all certainly were an inspiration for my chorus and also for, of course, our sister chorus and also for the barbershop world as a whole. But I think that taking that to other arts organizations and taking it to schools wherever possible to share the joyous opportunity that's available in barbershop that's a huge opportunity. And of course, other outreach in the community is super important as well as far as an opportunity goes. But you start with what you know, right? So music and singing are going to be the opportunities there. And even if it's just inviting people who happen to be singers to a show and then getting them hooked the way that I think so many barbershoppers got hooked through the casual tag singing or what have you. Oh man, I can't wait to get back to tag singing. Once the pandemic is over. Oh man.
Oh man. For our wider
so
listeners, there's this thing that we do. It's quickly. It's drinking and singing generally. It doesn't have to be drinking, but generally it's an after hours, after show sort of thing where people hang around the lobby of the performance hall or in the hotel and sing together informally, which is unbelievably beautiful to behold.
It's so much fun. So much fun.
I miss it so much, and it's social. It's fun. It's lighthearted. It's seeing friends you haven't seen in a year or 2 years, or it's people that you've known your entire life, perhaps, and it's just so it's wholesome and nice.
It's just the pinnacle of joy is to stay up until 5 a.m. in a hotel lobby. Standing around in little squares of 4 people and singing with people you've never met, singing with people you've known all your life. Absolutely. It's a true joy. And wouldn't it be great if more people who already love to sing and who already love music were able to, be a part of that too. I think it's a huge opportunity for barbershoppers.
Totally, man, because I can speak to my experience working on cruise ships as a performer, being able to share music with people that don't, how do I say this exactly? There are these boundaries in music, or maybe it's you're working for a cruise ship or you're in a performance touring company and you're a singer and you're a dancer, and there are these boundaries, and there are these distinct disciplines within the arts in one respect. In another respect, they're all sort of connected in a similar way. I often think about the way that arts funding and sports funding are somehow diametrically opposed in some sort of formulation, which needn't be. What I want to say is that they both share so many similarities. There's a big game, there's a big performance, there's community together, it's a team building activities, we're reaching toward a higher goal together, there's all these positive aspects, there's the exercise component of moving air in and out of your lungs with your diaphragm and standing for 3 hours and being, and there's all these sort of connections between the arts that, as you say, we can offer to musicians that haven't experienced the barbershop, and will be able to just walk right in like a duck to water, because I'm mixing metaphors now, but slide right in like a duck to water, or however you want to do it. It's there's so many opportunities to offer a conversation to the broader musical world in the a cappella and barbershop scene, and I feel like we're still repeating the same thing that I heard when I was just introduced to this art form, which is that it's this secret that isn't out, and it needs to be people need to get in on it. Somehow we need to reach out and make it easier for people to find out this joy.
Yep, absolutely. And it takes reaching out. Some people will happen upon it. I think that the Barbershop Harmony Society and the other barbershop organizations are are doing a great job of getting stuff onto YouTube and onto various social mediums, whatever.
Newfangled
And
4, doing a great job.
people will happen onto it, and that's great. That's awesome. But the opportunity, really, the thing that I think keeps bringing people back to barbershop, or that gets people hooked, is the experience of singing and being a part of it. So watching videos is amazing, and I watch Westminster videos over and over again all the time. Uh, so many of them. But as wonderful as that is, the experience of just hanging out with three other people and ringing a couple chords, singing something you never sung before, that's really not a lot compares to that. And that's really the hook that I think can get more people interested in and involved in barbershop.
It can. Yeah, the informalness is kind of one of the magic parts about barbershop for sure, where it's like, it bears repeating, or maybe one way of saying it is like, we know this, you know this, I know this. It would be apparent to anybody watching people sing a cappella, but you really don't have to own an instrument or purchase a saxophone or a trombone, or it's your body. It's your instrument. You have it. Like everyone has some version of a voice. And another thing that's incredible about it, and we haven't said yet, is that voices combine in unique and interesting ways, and diversity can be celebrated in that way. And it's so interesting to hear the blend of four different voices, even if they're not, shall we say, experienced in harmonizing with each other to a very fine degree. They can still make a very interesting tonal structure. And
Absolutely.
this reverberation is, I would go out, I'm not a physician here, but I would go out on the limb and say healthy.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, for sure. There's definitely, there's been all kinds of studies about the benefits of singing, purely the benefits of singing, and then also specifically the benefits of ensemble singing. There's something to there's something to it. There's something to being on the same, metaphorical wavelength as a bunch of other people around you. Everybody singing and making music together. I'm sure it goes back probably to early human evolution, and in terms of how it helps to build a community to share something like that. That I don't know about, but it certainly feels good.
I think it goes back like farther than that. I think it goes back to like just like the basic vibrations of like life itself. I just like the feeling of making music with your body, of breathing with others in a what are the fancy words for this? A sympathetic, resonant way, or like in a way in which there's something new created, or the sum of the parts is greater, or it's greater than the sum of its parts. Those like those very spiritual. That is a spiritual experience, to feel Absolutely. That like you can actually hear a third ring as you sing a fifth in tune, and it's just a magical, almost out of. In one way, it's an out of body experience, being so in your body in this vibration, because it's like it's an intense. For the first time you experience it, if you could. I mean, it's been so long for us because we're like, we've been doing this for a while, right? But like the first time you experience it, it's like, wow, this is a thing you can do. Like it's almost like totally riding a bike or something. Right? Like wow,
it's totally magic. Yeah, it's just it's a unique experience that I think other musical styles can give you some of it, but I haven't experienced anything quite like barbershop. I think it's because your voice happens as part of your body, and it really does physically, viscerally affect you. I think you're dead on.
I took a sound bath Kundalini yoga course once, and at the end of the class, they would play a giant gong, like a huge gong. I looked up how much these things cost. They're like a $16,000 piece of metal that's been finely made in Turkey or Istanbul or something. And it just, it's a sound bath, it waves over the body, and well, there's a lot of spiritual language to describe this in a lot of different traditions and disciplines. I'm not versed in those, but I did feel similarly to the times that I've been able to ring a real great chord. And here's another one that I remember so deeply. I I've kind of like been in and out of barbershop, as many of us have. Some of us haven't been able to be there for every single rehearsal for their entire lives, all of us. And I did return to barbershop after a hiatus to the Anaheim convention. And I remember hearing the audience sing Keep the Whole World Singing. And just, it was amazing to hear 5,000 or 6,000, whatever was in attendance, those people all singing that song. It was incredible to me. And
yeah, there's nothing quite like that.
I miss it.
Stadium full of people harmonizing well.
Yeah.
It's really something else, man.
Just that many people, like all singing the same beautiful song. And on that subject, if any of our listeners has the opportunity to dial this up, there's Jim Henry and Forefront teaching Keep the Whole World Singing recently on the Barbershop Harmony Society YouTube channel. I highly recommend it. Have you seen this, Jamie?
I did see that. I watched that live, actually.
You watched it live?
Happened to be free when that was going on, and yeah, it was pretty cool.
Oh, man.
I mean, talk about amazing musicians who are applying their craft to barbershop. Jim Henry is the doctor of some music or composition, or I'm not sure what, but absolutely amazing musician, absolutely amazing singer, absolutely amazing clinician, working with Forefront, who was, I think, maybe the not the most recent, but the previous, or maybe two champions ago. Amazing singers, amazing musicians. It was a real treat to watch that. Even though I've sung that song, I don't know how many thousands of times, it was still an absolute pleasure. It made me giddy. It was great.
Yeah, Jim Henry is pretty great. I remember seeing Gas House Gang in college, and like I sang with them after the show, and oh man, it was so cool. But really, I mean, to be quite honest, like still to this day, after all of this experience in the society and singing with Westminster, I still have a very fond appreciation for popping the CD in the car. And listen and singing along and trying to learn and imagine the baritone line or finding a fifth part or it's those Gas House Gang recordings is what I'm trying to get at. Those Gas House Gang recordings, A Little Night Music.
Oh man, just amazing stuff.
It's just such beautiful records. They made such beautiful music. And the love for the style, for the art form that just flows out of Jim Henry it's gorgeous, man. It's so cool.
It's incredible. Yeah, Gas House Gang was, I think, the first real quartet that I saw, or that I remember seeing in concert live. They were, oh man, just incredible. Just incredible.
Dude, my first quartet I ever saw was Acoustics.
Also incredible. Wow.
Pretty cool. That was like, I was like trying to figure out like what caused frisson. So like in high school, you go on a journey as you learn how art forms work. And so I assumed that the frisson, the goosebumps as they call them, it's like kind of was like, oh, this must come from like really accurate, really well resonant chords. Like, and then later I was like, oh wait, no. As I continued my musical knowledge gathering, reading books and such, I was like, oh, okay, I see. It's more about my anticipation of certain chord resolutions being satisfied, and my body is now tuned in such a manner, and my expectations are being met, and so I'm having this frisson experience. And more as I go on, I find that more like, in actuality, or maybe the extra truth of it, or however we want to describe what the fundamental nature of this is, the the actual friction, the cause of the friction is like really more the love of this experience and this like release of like the performance and the energy created in the room. And I hope that I get even closer to the bottom of this friction as time goes on, as these festivals come back online and we keep having the late night tag sessions to the break of day. God, I miss those.
Absolutely. I mean, there's a lot of opportunity down the road, and I think that that experience. One of the great things about this is like I've been singing barbershop, involved in the barbershop world for more than 20 years now, probably, um, and it just doesn't get old. That experience does not get old, and it doesn't matter if I'm happen to be singing with, a top quartet that just got off the stage and we happen to sing a tag together, or if I'm singing with three other people who I just met for the first time and they're all total newbies to barbershop. The experience is it's still there. It still feels amazing. It still feels fresh. It's something that's worth coming back to. So I hope that as we start getting back together, we keep that fundamental thing in mind, right? Because that's something that's always worth trying to drive toward and trying to get better at and trying to make sure it's a part of the experience. That's one of the things that I think is challenging about the virtual stuff. Actually, virtual content is you just you kind of that fulfillment is like it's not immediate in the same way as getting together and rehearsing in person is immediate. If everybody's recording their part kind of separately or however that works for folks, there are some technologies that let you kind of do that in real time. But there's a lot of work that has to happen that's asynchronous and it happens after the fact. So watching the output of that, watching the recording, a virtual choir recording or something, is super satisfying. But it takes so many hours and a lot of hours of individual work to get there. It's totally different than having a 2 or 3 hour rehearsal where most of the time during rehearsal you get to have that experience, or you're always reaching for that experience. It's interesting. It's a really interesting balance. The pandemic has been challenging for this in particular. This aspect of the thing that makes barbershop so wonderful.
But we're gonna do it, and Fog City has a physician on board, and you've got a plan, and
Yeah.
it's
Yeah,
you've got.
we're
How
thinking
about
about it.
music? Are you guys gearing up for any new any fresh choices? Any
Oh
interesting
man.
new choices you can share? Any
Whoa, things I
any
can share.
themes?
So good question. So Chris, our director, Chris Lewis, he's also one of the folks who does a lot of our custom arrangements. He actually, like, his barbershop history is interesting in that he kind of only really started barbershopping a couple years before he became our director. He had experience in other genres and like musical theater and college a cappella type stuff. And just recently, I guess in the last year or so, he got really deep into arranging and wrote a barbershop arranging manual online. It's available on probably on medium.com, I think. Very approachable, lots of samples, very kind of modern language and approach to it. Highly recommend it if anybody's interested in kind of how barbershop arranging works, or how he starts off with fundamentals. So he talks about a lot of the physics that's involved in barbershop and why barbershop sounds like barbershop. So yeah, he's been working on a lot of stuff. I think he kind of was overwhelmed coming into the pandemic and was just like feeling like he needed a break, and then he got a break for a couple months in the pandemic, and now he's just like churning out arrangements. So I think he's eager to get going again. I don't know if I remember any offhand in terms of exciting ones. There were a couple that we were working on before the pandemic that were super exciting. One was his arrangement of it's from Waitress. It's like the iconic song from Waitress that's sung by the lead.
Oh
the
gosh,
female
I'm
lead.
blanking on it. This is from another time.
Oh my God.
It's about pie. Something about pie.
Well, no, this she's gone, but she used to be mine.
Oh,
That
okay.
one where she's it's super dramatic, and we were trying to figure out, okay, how do we make that work? I hope we bring that back because we never got to perform it. uh, so that one's one that we put a bunch of time into, and it's just such a powerhouse song, and Chris did a great arrangement of it. And we got a couple others in our back pocket too that we're hoping to bring back. Really fun arrangement of "It's Not Easy Being Green," the Kermit the Frog
Oh, I love
classic.
the Muppets.
Beautiful song actually, and great musical behind it, as so much of the Muppets and the Jim Henson has like really iconic music, with really good stuff in there. So really interested in bringing that one out at some point. It'll be a lot of fun, I'm sure. Cannot wait.
Rolling right along, fruitless and fancy free. Yeah, Jim Henson's catalog is packed full of wonderful
Such
gems.
good stuff.
That's
Yep.
good stuff. Such a cool world. Like that is such a uniquely. I read a Jim Henson biography one year, and that was a great read. He is a fascinating guy.
Yeah, I haven't read it, but I'm gonna have to look at it.
Oh man,
especially to get into that song.
one of the most wonderful things about Jim Henson that I just love is like how protective he was concerning Children's Television Workshop when they brokered the deal to sell to Disney. He was very clear, and I think this was actually articulated by his lawyers because he had passed at the point at which Disney acquired. But it was like very, very clear that he saw a strong boundary between the Muppets and Sesame Street, and that the Muppets were vaudevillians. The Muppets were capable of selling anything, and indeed, you see the Muppets selling Facebook. You see the Muppets selling, whatever it is. They're totally zany and all over the place, and they're it's great. That's their character. By contrast, television aimed for children is very much a sacred and protected world in his view, just as Fred Rogers. Did you get a chance to see the Fred Rogers documentary?
No, I haven't.
Oh my God,
so
man, that is
interested.
such a great documentary. I think it's called
he's an
Won't You
icon.
Be My Neighbor or something.
Yeah.
Oh man, on that very subject, which is that childhood is sacred, and that it should be protected from. Oh gosh, this is a whole rabbit hole, but I just really admire that about Jim Henson and all of that ethos, all of that protection, all of that respect for the innocence of childhood was really part of the Henson television machine, and he really put that before money, and I really respect him.
Yeah, it's a virtue worth upholding, right? I totally feel that.
And which is why I love community work, like just like you're doing, it's like this isn't about like making a buck. And not that making a buck is bad, but like bringing people together around learning and community engagement is not the most profitable thing, but it is totally worthwhile.
Absolutely.
And as is Barbershop, not very profitable,
Not
but
very
so
profitable.
awesome, so
both
great.
things tend to cost money rather than make you money. Yeah.
Oh, it's been the best one of my best investments of my life.
Absolutely.
Just knowing all these wonderful people around the world, and in Jim Henry's words, people who want to sing with you. Just that simple phrase. People that want to sing with you. It's like, wow, that is a very rare and valuable thing, isn't it?
It's a beautiful thing.
Well, my man, thank you so much for this conversation today. I want to wrap us up now, and just to say thank you for being here on this Harmony Ball podcast. And I would like our listeners to go check out your synopsis.com. Can you spell that for them?
Oh man, I don't know if I can actually. So synapse, synapse, and then synopsis, synopsis. OPSIS.com.
Oh, man.
I think that might be it. Oh man,
You
you're
nailed
gonna
it.
have to check that.
That
Check
is
in
the
post.
correct spelling. Yes.
Yeah,
Check
it's
it
been an
out.
absolute pleasure, Derek. I mean, thank you so much for inviting me. This has been a lot of fun to chat about barbershop. I know it's helping it get me excited about the potential to come back. Not that I needed much help, but you'd stop doing anything for almost a year, and there's always that risk that you'll kind of like fade away from it. But what you're doing, I think, is a great thing. I think it'll help not only the folks in your chorus the the people who you talk to get more inspired, but I hope that'll help the broader barbershop world and maybe reach some non-barbershoppers who can maybe be inspired to join up after the fact.
Right on, dude. And I look forward to ringing a chord after a show sometime in the, I hope, near future.
I can't wait, man. Looking forward to it.
Woohoo! Let's sing a song, let's ring a song, let harmony be true. Summer is almost here, and I couldn't be happier because Barbershop is coming back, baby. I'd like to thank my guest, Jamie Bedford. Thank you for listening, and until next time, this is Derek Wayne saying, keep the dream alive.